I'm meteorologist Nicole Hartford. We begin by tracking Hurricane Ian, which is still currently sitting in the Caribbean. This is upgraded just in the last couple hours to a Category 2 hurricane. Right now, it's sitting south of Cuba with sustained winds up to 100 miles per hour and wind gusts up to 120 miles per hour. You can see in the center of circulation here that some rapid intensification has been really going on the last 24 hours. Rapid intensification occurs when we add 35 miles per hour to our wind speeds over the course of a 24-hour period, and that has already happened. We will likely continue to see rapid intensification over the course of the next 24 hours as well. So far, while Hurricane Ian is certainly more defined and larger, we're still not seeing that defined eye wall within the center of the storm. This is moving north-northwest at 13 miles per hour. It's forecast to intensify to a major Category 3 hurricane late tonight as it closes in on the western tip of Cuba. It will likely make landfall there, then re-enter into the open water of the Gulf of Mexico. Water temperatures there continue to be exceptionally warm, which means that further intensification and strengthening is expected. So this will eventually become a Category 4 hurricane, likely with wind speeds of up to 140 miles per hour as it gets closer to the coast of Florida. We still have a pretty large area in that cone of uncertainty where we could potentially see landfall in the coming days, but we're starting to narrow down that location with, at this point, impacts to the Tampa area and likely kind of this quadrant where we have potential landfall of Hurricane Ian. This will weaken upon landfall to a tropical storm and then eventually a tropical depression as it moves up into the state of Georgia, potentially bringing some rainfall to our forecast by the end of this week. Spaghetti models, as you can tell, are still very close together down towards Cuba, and then they expand into Wednesday and Thursday as we zone in on that potential landfall. So there's still some uncertainty as to where that landfall will take place, but no matter where that occurs, there will be major impacts across the state of Florida with storm surge, rains that lead to flooding, as well as, of course, damaging winds and a severe weather threat. Because of that, we have watches and warnings that extend through Cuba as well as most of the coast of Florida. On the western Gulf Coast, we do have hurricane warnings, tropical storm warnings, as well as hurricane watches, whereas off towards the eastern coast of Florida, extending from Jacksonville all the way down into portions of south central Florida, we have tropical storm watches that will be in effect there. Now, the location where this ends up will have a big impact on our forecast, and it really matters to us if Hurricane Ian ends up going to the west or the east of the Atlanta area. There are quadrants in a hurricane. Essentially, you look at the center of circulation, you split it up into 4, and some of those areas we do see a stronger wind. If this, in the case of Hurricane Ian, is moving up towards the north, it's moving northward, and then we have that rotation that is counterclockwise. So when it's moving north in this northeastern quadrant, the wind speeds and the storm direction are the same. That results in accelerating wind speeds, and so oftentimes we have the strongest winds, the greatest impact, biggest storm surge, as well as the threat for severe weather and tornadoes in the northeastern quadrant of a tropical storm or a hurricane. So if this tracks further towards the west, for us, that means more rain, stronger winds, potentially a tornado threat. If this tracks a little further east, we'll likely still see rainfall, but less of it, as well as weaker winds and not really much of a severe weather threat. At this point, many of our forecast models are bringing this up towards the coast of Florida and then essentially ejecting it up towards the north into Georgia, with that center of circulation in these cases staying just south of the Atlanta area. So we're going to be watching this very closely in the coming days. Bottom line at this point, I would say expect rainfall at the very least into Friday as well as Saturday. Our rainfall chances start to really improve by Friday, especially Friday afternoon, as this tropical system moves into the Atlanta area. And then by Saturday, we'll bring in a much better chance for some rainfall, with those rain chances going up to about 90%. Saturday could end up being a little bit of a washout. We're going to be on the lookout, though, for some of that heavier rainfall that could potentially lead to a flood risk as well.